This is a little different gathering than, having the 501st escort us in or one of the fan groups. So we're trying to take this one a little more seriously on the approach. Although we do want to emphasize the fun nature of what it is that we're doing. Comic-Con is about having a great fan experience. It's about having a great time with people and getting to make new friends, and really we want to keep that Salt Lake Comic-Con experience going. So I just want to go over a couple of things before we get started. We will open up for a Q&A after we go over these points. But our primary reason for bringing this together is we've heard, people have said, well, how's this going to impact our September 4th through the 6th event? What's going to happen with this situation with San Diego Comic-Con sending us that letter? And we want to emphasize that this is about letting everybody know that, hey, the show's going on as planned. It's not going to be impacted. The name is Salt Lake Comic-Con. We're continuing with that name, and it's really about keeping that experience pulled together. So we want to say that this show is turning out to be significantly bigger than even our prior events. So ticket sales are up 2 to 3 times what they were going into our 2 prior shows. Vendor sales and Artist Alley, they're sold out. The last show we were selling vendor booths up until, we sold out I think the last week of the show, so we're ahead of schedule there. We even made more vendor space available for this show, and we sold that out. We have a lot more comic book artists and comic book creators coming. It's fun. We've got a lot of great names there. We have several that are returning from prior events, but a lot of new ones to introduce as well. We have our celebrity list is, I'll tell you one thing is I hate to compare one celebrity against another. I shy away from that, so it's hard to say that we have a stronger list than prior shows, but I will say that we have a very, very strong list of celebrities coming, people that are icons in entertainment, and we have a lot more that we're still announcing. Just to clarify on things regarding the letter from San Diego, is that there is no formal legal action taken on this. It was a letter from their attorney telling us that they would like us to change our name, and that they felt that their name was, that San Diego Comic-Con, that the term Comic-Con was something that they're trying to protect. And we respect them for sharing their opinion on this, but of course we've done enough research and had enough legal advice, and Brian's going to go over a lot of that to just discuss why we feel that the term Salt Lake Comic-Con is a name that is perfect for our event. We have had some dialogue with the San Diego Comic-Con people, and they are open to further discussions to see if we can resolve any concerns that they have. We'll continue to pursue that path. But ultimately, we do feel strong about our position. And once again, I do want to say I'm a fan of the San Diego Comic-Con. It is a great event, and it's very fitting for our type of, the type of things that have built here in Salt Lake and in big cities around the nation. The Comic-Con events have become so powerful, and San Diego has really been a leader in that area. So I do want to turn the time over to Brian to discuss some of our positioning on this and our legal standpoint of why we feel that the name Comic-Con, the term Comic-Con, is something that we can continue with. So Brian.
All right, well, everybody knows that your attorney will tell you can win. So we've been assured we can win. But we've also done our own research, and Dan and I have a long history of experience with intellectual property from game companies to 3D software companies, and we feel like we have a firm handle on intellectual property and trademark law. So we've taken our own look at everything that our lawyers have told us, and we all agree that we have every right to use Comic-Con. And we're gonna outline some of, we don't wanna reveal all of our cards in this. We'll save a few of them, but I think we can talk about enough of the things that you can kind of see where we're coming from in terms of our legal position and why we're not going to submit to any of the demands by San Diego. As Dan stated earlier, there's no legal process in the works now. We have a letter from a lawyer, but we did feel that we were singled out and that we kind of wanted to give a heads up to a lot of Comic-Cons that we have relationships with around the country, because if they're going to take this action with us, they're going to take action with others, because there's nothing we're doing other than being super successful that other Comic-Cons are doing around the country. It is true that it takes more than Comic-Con to have world-class success. You know, there's a new Comic-Con every week that's being created. There are over 600 fan conventions around the country, and we started a Comic-Con in one of the smallest markets in the country, and we were able to achieve a record-breaking event with 72,000 people and the largest first-year Comic-Con in North American history. And we're currently the largest Comic-Con per capita, at least in North America, we think the world. So what that says is, you know, yes, we call ourselves Comic-Con, but so do a lot of other people, so we must have done a few things other than just call ourselves Comic-Con to be so hugely successful. From a trademark standpoint, Comic-Con came into existence in 1970, and although a lot of journalists and even on Comic-Con's site say that they were the first Comic-Con, that's just not true. If you go to our resource page on our website, you'll see that New York Comic-Con actually started, they're called the Comic Art Convention, but they were known as New York Comic-Con back in 1964. There were Comic-Cons going on in England in 1968. You'll see on our resource page, long before 2005, when Comic-Con formally filed for a trademark, that there were Comic-Cons going all over the country, most significantly and importantly, Chicago Comic-Con. And Chicago Comic-Con existed in the late 70s and 80s. They called themselves Comic-Con with C-O-M-I-C-O-N, so it's another variation, very similar to the variation that we have. There are literally dozens of Comic-Cons all over the country that use some variation, including the trademark Comic-Con. So our lawyers and our own analysis tells us, well, San Diego was able to get a trademark on Comic-Con, but then they themselves tried to get a trademark on Los Angeles Comic-Con and could not. They also tried to stop Chicago Comic-Con from doing business as Chicago Comic-Con, and were unsuccessful. If you go to wizardworld.com, you'll see 24 Comic-Cons that they produce around the country. They're not affiliated with Wizard World. If you go to New York Comic-Con, you'll see that they've been in business for quite some time. They're rivaling, they're number 2 in the market, and as far as we know, they have no affiliation with San Diego. Dallas Comic-Con was just purchased by a large English conglomerate. They have no affiliation with San Diego Comic-Con. You know, we feel like our huge, it's not just that we had 72,000 people at our first convention. Everybody told us there's no way you can do 2 conventions in a year. Well, not only did we do 2 conventions in a year, but we had 100,000 people at our second convention. And so that kind of, I think, brought us on the radar. It was probably no coincidence in hindsight that our second convention took place during San Diego Comic-Con's WonderCon, and they didn't have nearly the attendance in Los Angeles that we did in what they consider Mayberry. So we feel like our success is getting us on their radar. There's a lot of legal precedences that go on. If you look outside the Comic-Con market, you know, how many auto shows are there around the country? How many car shows around the country, how many gun shows around the country. You can't trademark gun show, you can't trademark auto show. And so these businesses can't exist. Now, San Diego takes a position that people are confused about Salt Lake Comic Con, and they think that there is some similarity or association with San Diego and Salt Lake City. And although we're flattered, we don't believe that to be true. We're very different. In San Diego, they're calling it Comic Con. We still have a very strong comic presence, and that will continue to be so moving forward. We have a very distinct flavor that you can get up close and personal with celebrities, where that's not the focus at San Diego. San Diego is about catering to the movie and TV industry and launching new TV shows, and Comic-Con is becoming a smaller and smaller part every year, and there's documentation of this all over the web. The thing that's important to point out is San Diego believes that they have created the brand equity for Comic-Con, and they're absolutely wrong there. If you're in Dallas and you're going to Dallas Comic-Con, you don't say, I'm going to Dallas Comic-Con, you say, I'm going to Comic-Con. If you're in New York and you're going to New York Comic-Con, you say, I'm going to Comic-Con. And people in Salt Lake City, they don't say, I'm going to Salt Lake Comic-Con, they say, I'm going to Comic-Con. And that's that way all over the country and the world. So we've been assured by our attorneys that we have a strong position here, and we feel that it is bordering on predatory. If you look at their mission statement as a nonprofit organization created to promote the arts and culture, we don't think this is very consistent with their mission. And so we're gonna fight them. There's nothing they can do. Even if this goes to trial, which 1.3% of trademark cases do go to trial, even if it does go to trial, it's gonna be a long, protracted process. And the fact that they've already lost on several fronts, very specifically with this trademark, we feel like, not only are we gonna be having a great show in September, but we booked the Salt Palace in September 2015, we're gonna have a great show then. So, thanks for your support. We love our fans. If you wanna make a bag of popcorn and go read comments that we get from our fans about the situation, it's more than entertaining. Thank you.
Any questions?
Do you anticipate litigation, though, now that you've given your response, which this could legally be considered a formal response?
Yes.
So do you think you're gonna get sued?
I don't know. I think that just depends, how aggressive they want to take on this, because this could be the case that settles it for them across the board. And if they want to go that direction, that may be the case.
Yeah, the other thing that's the second part of that question is, there's more at stake than their trademark. If you look at, in hindsight, we made a really good decision to go public about this, because what has happened is not only we've cleared up any confusion about, San Diego having any kind of relationship with Salt Lake Comic-Con, but in the court of public opinion, we have won this case.
You said that you're talking to other Comic-Con events around the country about the situation. What can you tell us about your talks with them, their responses, and whether or not any of them are going to be involved?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Obviously, we're not in a position to disclose, because we don't want any of our potential allies to be targeted next. But most of them are just rolling their eyes and saying, why are they doing this? This has been going on for not years but decades. Why all of a sudden now? And it's a great question. And for us, after looking into this, after getting past our press conference and everything, that what's happening in San Diego is that the convention expansion plans have halted, and a lawsuit happened in San Diego that said, you know what, we can't make the hotels pay for this big expansion just for San Diego Comic-Con, and so it's not going to be on the ballot in November. And what is what is everybody's projecting is that San Diego Comic-Con is gonna have to move somewhere else, and they don't wanna change their name from San Diego Comic-Con, they wanna dominate Comic-Con.
And that's speculation, of course. I mean, it's information that's out there on the web that you know, a lot of this, we're trying to determine why it's us that are, you know, we're dealing with this. We have not heard of any other events around the country that are being targeted on this specific topic.
But is it because you drove your vehicle down there and took to stick at the bear?
You know what, that sounds like that was the catalyst why they sent that, cause we told them we had legal right to drive around the car down in San Diego. And I think that may have, when they said that, you know, legally, you know, they said they would get their attorneys involved. Not once did they ever indicate that the attorney's involvement would be to discuss the name. We had never heard anything ever that they had an issue with the name Salt Lake Comic-Con.
And the other part of that story is the fact that Dan had been in communication with them, and when they said, if you bring that car down, we're gonna take legal action, and we got back to them and said, well, if you really feel that way about it, we won't bring it down. Not that we don't have the right to drive a private car on public property, but we, you know, would wanna have a relationship with you guys, so we won't bring it down. And after we sent them that correspondence communication, the next day we got the letter.
But yeah, and it was, I mean, they had started that process, and I think a lot of it was when we made the claim that you have no legal way to stop us from bringing the car down. And once again, it was not tied to any indication that they had an issue with us using the name Salt Lake Comic-Con.
So this cease and desist letter came about a little over a week ago, is that correct?
Yeah, it was on a Friday.
Have you had any further correspondence or
We
communication?
have, as of late last night and actually this morning.
Can you expand on what that might be?
Not really, other than just, it's the first time that we've had dialogue with them. I mean, they're people that are behind San Diego Comic-Con that we don't know the team there. We have correspondence with one person regarding the car, and on that subject, but that was the only other correspondence we have had with San Diego.
But what about late last night, this morning? What was the subject of the discussions?
Well, the subject was obviously their position, and they take the position that the term Comic-Con is something that they can protect.
So they reiterated their position
They
that you're
did.
infringing upon their trademark and copyright.
Yes.
And you, I'm assuming, reiterated your position as well.
Exactly, yeah. And so,
Is there
yeah.
any indication, though, then, that are they going to pursue this further, or is this just lawyers rattling cages?
Well, at this point, it was management talking, not attorneys talking. So I think that the follow-up on this to see if we do get another, or if really, I guess the thing is they'd have to file. I think that's the next step if they want to pursue it. If they want to continue discussions around usage and clarification that helps that they feel better with, we're open to any sort of discussion around this. You know, we would like to be amicable with them. We would like to have a relationship with San Diego Comic-Con because they are a great event. A lot of fun things happen down there, and we'd never want any of the fans, the artists, the vendors, anybody to ever feel that they're caught in a battle here by any means, because this is something people should have a good time with both events and every other event that has the name Comic-Con or doesn't have the name Comic-Con. This whole industry is a very fun, entertaining industry, and we don't want to lose that.
Obviously, the best case scenario for you guys is San Diego lets it go. It seems like obviously their best case scenario is you guys cave and change the name. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of middle ground to be had. So it does go back to the question, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you fight this all the way to the Supreme Court for trademark, well, how likely do you at least see a filing, if not an actual court case?
Well, the other thing that we have done is we have filed for the Salt Lake Comic-Con trademark, and that's something that process could actually take, or could handle this for us. And so we go through that process where Denver Comic-Con was awarded the trademark. It seems pretty logical. I mean, I don't know unless, because we're near a body of salt water, and San Diego has a body of salt water near them, maybe that might be the confusion, I don't know. But the reality is we should be granted that trademark.
Do you fear any kind of retribution from the celebrities or the sponsors or demonstrators that maybe San Diego Comic-Con says, you know, they threaten them, if you go to Salt Lake, you know, we won't have you here, anything like that?
They definitely have a lot of influence. That could, but we have not seen any, we've actually kind of seen the opposite. We won't name any names, but, you know, there's been a lot of celebrities that have expressed some distaste over what's going on, and as well as vendors. And as far as I'm aware, we have not had a single vendor drop out of the show in September on this, around this, so. You know, we're not trying to, we don't want to pick a fight here. We don't want to have a fight with San Diego. We want that event to be, continue to be wildly successful like it is. We just want the right to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, the other part of that answer, that if you think about it, a lot of the celebrities that come to our show have a very small role in San Diego Comic-Con, but in Comic-Cons like Salt Lake Comic-Con and other Comic-Cons around the country, they are rock stars and they are the big part of the show. And so people that are on that Comic-Con circuit will look at this as, you know, threatening their livelihood.
When did you file for the trademark Salt Lake Comic-Con?
We filed that after this happened. 'Cause
After,
we
so
figured, you know,
yesterday?
No, it was last Friday or Monday,
Okay.
yeah.
But if you understand trademark, it's about, you know, having first precedence in the market.
Have you also tried to trademark Fanex by any chance?
We did, we have, yeah, and that one's, that's at the very edge of the process. So we started that one about 6 months ago.
Yeah, and if you look at that, there's Fan Expo, who has a trademark on Fan Expo, so you think, oh, that's pretty close, that's even closer, or as close, and, you know, we're being successful.
Next steps, or any last messages for fans as they're getting ready for September?
Well, and this is really the call out to the fans. Let's show the world that we can throw one of the greatest parties around. I mean, really, let's make Comic-Con, Salt Lake Comic-Con, the most successful event that it can be by supporting the celebrities that are there and the vendors and everybody. Because we had the lineups there, and it's the opportunity for the fans to come and really show the support. And like like before, the fans have always come out in such great support. And I'll say this again: we have the best fans in the world, without a doubt.
Is there a concern that this whole thing might scare attendees away, even though your ticket sales are, you know, still going gangbusters, but litigation is nasty, ugly, and, you know, is there a concern that?
But you have to understand the process of one of these kind of disputes is, you know, that before there was even, you know, a judgment filed, it would be, you know, a month or two process way beyond our show. You know, sales have increased. People have assured that, you know, they're doing their common sense court analysis, whereas like, well, why are they picking on Salt Lake City? Because there are Comic-Cons all over the country. I've gone to a lot of them. You know, they don't see the logic in San Diego's actions.
But that is, you know, to your point, that is why we wanted to do this press conference. We wanted to be clear to the fans everywhere that where our intention is the show's going on. You know, nobody's gonna come chain up the doors. So.
Does any of your merchandising have to stay off the shelves because of the
No, none of them.
We're just changing con to KHAN everywhere.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for coming. Really
All right.
appreciate it.